What is corruption? Transparency International defines it as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain, most typically from governing entities. Corruption's impact seems to be observable on a wide scale. An estimated US $800 million of public funds are lost each year due to tax evasion in Palestine. In Palestine, where more than 6,000 civil servants were using government cars, costing over $18 million in fuel, maintenance, and licensing alone, most were being used for personal usage. In Bangladesh, 84% of the households who had interacted with one or more of different public and private sectors have been victims of corruption in 2010. Findings from a 7-country study in Africa show that 44% of all the parents surveyed had paid illegal fees for schools for their children to attend. The point is that corruption is almost always prevalent in developing nations. What is a developing nation? A nation where the average income is much lower than in industrial nations, where the economy relies on a few export crops, and where farming is conducted by primitive methods. Developing nations have also been called underdeveloped nations. Most of them are in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. With fragile institutions that are barely unable to sustain themselves, they consequently become an easy target. So how does corruption affect developing countries' government effectiveness? Well, corrupt governments are just not able to function properly because corruption prevents the natural laws of the economy from functioning freely. As a result, corruption in a nation's political and economic operations causes its entire society to suffer. Ideally, companies choose their suppliers via tenders processes, which ensures the efficient allocation of resources. However, when corruption exists, companies that are unqualified for the project are often awarded through unfair and illegal deals.
Wow, I am so good at calligraphy. Man, I'm really bad at this. Still want that deal,
Is the
though?
offer still 20 goats, my friend?
Yes, it is, buddy.
Good. However,
Deal.
it is really important to note that this isn't always true everywhere. In regards to economic effects of corruption, some nations were neutral, neither experiencing any harms nor benefits. ResearchGate discovered that almost all Latin American countries did not have a significant relationship between the measure of corruption and GDP per capita. Thus, not all countries are experiencing similar consequences to those in the Middle Eastern and North African region where corruption is most prevalently affecting the economy. Thus, corruption makes it easy for people to pass bureaucratic hurdles, allowing them to execute their business independently and efficiently. Sign here.
No, I am corrupt.
Sign here.
No, I am corrupt.
Sign here.
No, I am corrupt. We do it my way.
How is the economy affected by corruption? A 1% increase in estimated corruption level decreases economic growth by 0.72%. The Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development reveals that corruption increases the cost of doing business by up to 10% on average. Since it is harder to overcome bureaucratic hurdles that demand more bribes, it actually costs more to even have a business. In less dispersed bribery environments, bribery acts as an additional fee or an increase in operational costs that only impedes the firm's performance. Corruption not only restricts economic success, but it results in devastating economic income inequality. This is due to the enormous tariffs and taxes that corrupt government officials impose on their country. How is society affected? Well, due to the ineffectiveness of governments and the economic detriments, corruption creates social unrest in developing nations. Failure to adhere to the practices of good governance means stakeholders increasingly demand accountability.
I am so mad. You are so corrupt. I am protesting. I demand accountability.
By having an open government that hides corrupt deals and contracts from its people, as well as strip their financial security, their society only distrusts the government. Corruption may not be as harmful onto society. It can be beneficial for maintaining societal order in rare cases. The University of Tennessee at Knoxville found that the bulk of society cooperates because there are law enforcers forcing them to stay in line. Therefore, people tend to cooperate because they want to avoid punishments and legal ramifications. Even if the law enforcers consider themselves above the law and behave in a corrupt way, overall societal cooperation is maintained as long as there is a small amount of power and corruption. It is when law enforcers have too much power and corruption runs rampant, leading to societal detriments listed earlier, such as the distrust for the government and mass strikes and protests that break down societal cooperation. So, it seems that corruption may exist in most nations, and most of the time, it hurts societal togetherness and as well as deteriorates governmental and economic institutions.